Hey, how's it going guys? Welcome back to the channel. Crimsonpanda here with another episode of Mercenary Meta. Now in this week's episode we're going to be taking a look at the highest win rate comps again across all of the MMR ranges, so from the top 10% all the way down to all players. So let's head over and check out this week's meta. Okay, so we have filtered it to the minimum games being 100, just in case there's any up-and-coming new comps that we might be seeing, and also we're filtering it to all players to start with, and then we'll work our way through all of the percentages. So as we can see here, I filtered it here by win rate as well, so this is the highest win rate to the lowest. So the very first one we have here is N'Zoth, Cho, Yulong, Cookie, Sinestra, and Malfurion. So this is an old god minion buff, like nature type comp. So obviously we've got N'Zoth here doing the shadow stuff. Cho is obviously going to protect the minions that come out from N'Zoth, and Yulong is also going to give those minions extra health, giving them quite a lot of survivability because they're going to be taking 8 damage less. So that is 0 from Localar, which is obviously Frost being extremely good and extremely random. So those N'Zoth summons are actually going to take no damage at all unless you queue up really fast stuff. And other than Yulong's Jade Fire buffet, Jade Flame buffet, the other two are like 5 speeds. So you obviously summon stuff with Lawwalker Cho as well, which is going to obviously scale. And then as of the bench, we have the Nature Sinestra package. So we've got Malfurion, just in case all else fails with the summons, we'd be able to use Malfurion's big AoE. He's got his heals in there as well. Cookie for the extra health on all of your minions, and then Sinestra obviously being a very solid green. So this has a 62.5% win rate with only 140 games played, so it is fairly new in the all player bracket. This may decrease as we go through the ranges in win rate and in games as well. So comp number 2, we have a old god. So this is the full old god comp with Cthulhu running on the bench. So a lot of us have seen this one quite frequently. So we've got Yasharaj using the Mark of Yasharaj in this one, which is actually strange to see. It's not the Rage Unbound, because with this one you kind of want to taunt up on at the start. So it's interesting to see the Defiled attack. You obviously have the summon with N'Zoth and the Eternal Torment, and then Yogg usually rushes in, bringing out your Maestra, and then that rushes in as well. And then that's when you can get the turn to Yashara Rage Unbound. But for some reason this comp is showing us the Mark of Yasharaj doing the Defiled Borrow's extra attack, so a bit weird to see that. And then as of the bench, we just have Shadow with Vulgin. So this is obviously going to speed up all of our Shadow Mercs, which is every single one of these. And then Cthulhu, obviously the new one, getting buffed every time you summon an old god like N'Zoth, which is obviously getting this up to plus 140 health and around about the 30 attack mark as well, which is very threatening in the late game. So that is the old god comp that people are choosing. 62% win rate with that one and 310 games played, so fairly decent size considering. Next up we have a Frost build. So this one, 430 games played, 61.6% win rate, and of course it is Frost. So we got Localar using Frigid Winds, Volden using the Death Rattle, Jaina using Ice Block, and then as of the late game they've got Belinda for the additional Frost once Localar, I imagine, dies off, because they're obviously going to want to kill him. And then you've got the Tyrande and the Bane combo in the late game. So we've got Chieftain Feather and the Band of the Wilds to be able to combo out Bane's third ability to deal like 100 damage to those greens, which obviously will be very good versus the Cthulhu. It'll be very good versus the Sinestra and also the Sylvanas. You'll end up getting a 50-50 flip with Bane's 10 speed and obviously Sylvanas is 10 speed, unless they're using a Vulgin in their comp, which speeds up their Sylvanas, allowing it to scale before Bane can actually kill it. But this is doing fairly well, 61.6% like I said, so really solid comp. Obviously it is Frost, you are going to have to suffer with that. And we have the exact same one as well just below, so people are experimenting it. Instead of using the Chieftain Feather, they are using the Totemic Mastery for that grounded totem to protect some of their units. That is the only change in this one. it is only 0.2% less, but it does have less games. So obviously if it's less already now, then chances are this win rate will drop as the wins come in, or the losses come in, or games played, sorry. So this one here with the Chieftain Feather seems to be working a little bit better than the Grounded Totem one. Next up, we have Pirates. So buff Pirates, I absolutely love this comp. So it's 60.5%. And it's had 850 game sample size, so a very, very good win rate with the amount of games played. So the idea behind this one is Elise, Trigor, and Eudora. Eudora is going to summon the cannon, Trigor is going to backlash, and Elise is going to buff. And then once you swing with your Eudora at 4 speed, that's going to bring out Maestra. And if they only have 3 mercs, you have 4. So Maestra is going to cleave, and it's going to be buffed from the Elise, and Trigor is going to proc as well. So a lot of damage on turn 1 with this comp. And then in the late game, because you're buffing with Elise, you have the Pirate package. If Eudora survives, you got the speed increase with Edwin. And obviously Sneed has a really, really nice amount of AoE damage for a 2 speed. And it's spammable, so you can do it every turn. The only downfall to Sneed is that if you don't manage to kill him off within the first 2 turns of him being out, then his active saw is no longer, so you will have to do a random swing into something for 0, but that's still a very, very good, very high attack hit. So yeah, an absolute solid comp. I love that one. Definitely recommend playing it if you guys have these mercs. So we got Oasis, Razor Claw, the cannon, Mask of the Mimicry, and Black Flag and Extra Blades if you're interested in that one. Next we have Vexia's Nagas. So this is obviously a stupidly good solid win rate compared to the amount of games played as well. So 1500 games is an insane amount, and having a 60% win rate, this is obviously going to climb. So you've got the Explorers with the Queen Azura at the opener, and then we have Nagas on the back line. So these Nagas obviously come out doing a hell of a lot of AoE damage in the late game, and this comp is just proper solid. So you're buffing, you're speeding stuff up, your Reno has obviously got the Death Row to be able to kill off those things randomly. It's just a stupidly solid comp. If you have these Nagas up, which I'm sure wasn't really much of a priority when they first come out, I definitely recommend playing this comp as well, especially if you don't have a lot of time and you just want to win a few games day in day out. Then definitely play this one as well. And then it starts getting into some weird and wonderful new stuff by the looks of it. So we have 140 games at 59% win rate, and this is an Anacondra build. So we got Lady Anacondra, which is obviously going to summon the Viper now, and then you've got Yulong to protect that Viper and increase its health, as well as Lawwalker Cho doing the same thing. That minion, the Viper, is going to take 8 less damage, plus it's going to scale stupidly big because of the buffs that Lady Anacondra can give. And then just to keep on topic with the nature from the Anacondra, the bench package is also nature. So we have Cookie with appetizers, giving characters extra 9 health, keeping them alive a little bit longer. And then we have Malfurion healing everything up, which is great. And Guff, obviously, with that new Living Brambles buff, is dealing a lot of damage to those reds in the late game if you're going up against reds later on, especially if you're going up against Banes, and you can destroy Bane before their Tyrande and Bane combo goes off and stuff like that. So a solid bench if you're going up against a lot of that Bane, Arcane, Nature bench, with Guff there to be able to help you out a little bit there. So as you can see here, we have a few other comps as well. We're not going to go too much into these ones. We have the Yasharaz Kazagas one with the Vulgin. This is obviously going to use the Defiled attack to start popping off all of those greens in the early game. And then Shadow and Local Art just for the sake of it in the late game. So this has no synergy at all. It's just a slow merc that is obviously going to be focused down instead of Sylvanas maybe being focused down. So very interesting to see this type of bench on the Yasharaj Shadow comp. But Local Art obviously is a very flexible merc there. You can switch it out for almost anything you want. Obviously Shadow would benefit a lot more thanks to Vulgin and the rest of the package. Next we have a Beast Trigor Arcane. So this one, very new. Obviously, Rexar has just been given a buff, and so has King Crush. So this one here, I imagine, is going to spam out some beasts, which is going to help your Yulong package in the late game once all your beasts die. So basically, Rexar and King Crush are filling in for Nefarian and the other possible one you want to be running, like probably the Rexar or the King Crush. Nefarian has basically been dropped for those. So as you can see, the comp below is very similar, but instead of the Rexar and King Crush, they're using the Nefarian and the Onyxia. So underperforming a little bit, but does have a bigger game sample size. So people are more playing this one over this one. I guess they're not using Rexar because Rexar can now spam out companions, which is why that's obviously a lot better Rexar. So that was all players. Obviously the games are going to decrease now because of the percentage caps. So we have only 690 plus rating this week in the meta, so not a lot of people are actually playing the game to climb by the looks of it. Top 10 is actually only 5,400 rating, and we're on the 7th of the month, so I expect this to get higher, and it should probably be higher than it is now. So these comps are going to be very similar, with the rating being quite low. So here we have top and the top 50% here is the Frost with the Nature Tyrande combo. So we spoke about that one, obviously the games being a little bit more here up in this range, but yeah, Frost obviously dominating the top 50. And then below that we have the Cthulhu Old Gods, still doing very well. Win rate looking pretty healthy as well. Game sample size a little bit lower, but still solid. Nagas, this is always going to be up here. This is always going to be good. The amount of games played for the win rate, it's always going to be there. And my favourite comp with the Pirates, this is still up here. And then obviously going into your nature stuff and your summoning and protecting the N'Zoth spawns and the Cho spawns, and then the Anaconda build as well is up here. So yeah, everything very similar win rate because it's just not very high off of all players. 20%. So next up we have the win rate scales. So here, look, the Frost one with 50%, it was at 65. So the higher up you get, the stronger this comp is getting. So the less games played in this area, but people have obviously learned how to play the build, and the win rate is showing for that. So we've got the Frost Arcane Tyrande build. I've actually done a video on that comp because of the win rate being so high, so feel free to go and check that out. I'll leave a link at the start of this video. It'll be so up in the top right hand corner there should be like an exclamation mark. You can see my other stuff. And then just below that we have the Old God. So this one now is getting how much? That's got an extra 5% win rate increase up here in the top 20%. So that's anything over 2,300 rating. And then, like I said, Nagas are still here. We have the Old God with Yashara and the Shadow. So this one has actually made an increase up here. So it's 61% with 530 games. That is the Savannah Shadow bench with the Yashara, Woljin, Defile, Golem combo at the start, which obviously if you're going up against greens and you're using this is just going to dominate them unless Reno gets in the way. So just below that, the exact same comp again, but with the Localar. They have Cookie in their one. This one has Localar. So like I said, very good flexible spot there for anybody that wants to try this and use something a little bit weird, something that people may not necessarily expect. Then Old Gods again down here, and then followed up by the Pirate one, which is dropping in win rate as we get higher up these MMRs. So, and then the last but not least, over 5,400 is top 10. So as you can see there, not a lot changes, just a couple comps at the bottom. So we have the 3 dominant ones, which is the Frost Nature, the Old Gods, and then the Nagas. And then as we go down, the Pirate one has got better once again as it come up to the top 10. That's probably solely because of me. I've been playing this comp like crazy and I'm above the 5,000 rating. So this is probably my input, so I apologize if you don't like it, but I like it. And then just below that we have the Old Gods with Cthulhu again. So the difference between this one and the one above is that this is actually running the Rage Unbound. So whereas this one has only got 160 games and is a higher win rate, This one has 390 games, but not that one, sorry, it's this one. Has the 950 games with the Rage Unbound equipment, which in my opinion is better than the Defiled in that comp. Not in this one. This one, by the way, is obviously Mark of Yasharat is 10 times better than the Rage Unbound, because you're going to be defiling off of 2 extra minions thanks to Kazagus, whereas you don't get that with this comp. I mean, you get the 1 extra minion with N'Zoth, and you also get the Yogg. So if you queue Yogg in first so that Maestra comes down and does her stuff, you can borrow off of the summon there and the Maestra, but I much prefer the Rage Unbound, honestly. And then we have that one there, the Yashara comp, and then the same thing again, but with the flex spot being a Lich King instead of a Cookie. So this comp here, very, very flexible on the bench. So if you want something that's flexible that you can just switch out a Merc every now and then depending on your matchups, then this one doing the business. And then we have Frost with Karen Diablo. So this is obviously really annoying for people because the Sinestra can combo anything, or crit anything, sorry, with the help from Diablo. Being able to Apocalypse something and pushing their Merc to take crit damage. Obviously Karen can combo that out, and then Sinestra can just whack them. Very fun with Diablo. Diablo obviously was overplayed in the past, but it's kind of dropped off because of the power creep of most of these other Mercs. So seeing Diablo back in it is pretty awesome. And yeah, so that's about it for this week's meta. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I do these hopefully weekly or every other week, depending on if we've had any buffs, nerfs, or patches. This is obviously behind a paywall, so I do these videos so that you guys don't have to pay for that. So all I ask in return is that you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and once you've done that, I'll see you in the next video.